So behind me here is the place where the ziggurat of Babylon stood.
Babylon. The name alone summons images of grandeur, the Hanging Gardens, the Tower of Babel, the cradle of law and language. For 2 centuries, archaeologists have treated this city as a solved puzzle. We have cataloged the kings, mapped the temples, and translated the laws. We tell ourselves that every stone has confessed its story. But history is not static. It shifts under our feet. While the world focused on the famous ruins, a small, unnoticed rescue excavation in the overlooked Aliadia district began to uncover something that defies the timeline. It wasn't a temple. It wasn't a palace. It was a warning. What began as a routine salvage operation at Site 193 spiraled into the most disturbing archaeological anomaly of the modern era. They found soil engineered to suppress what lay beneath. They found libraries dedicated to silence rather than knowledge. And deep in the bedrock, they found a vault that wasn't built to keep grave robbers out, but to keep something else in. This is the story of the excavation that history tried to hide. The year was 2023. Leading the mission was Kautan Abbas Hassan Aboud, a man known for his methodical patience. Site 193 was designated for modern development. This was supposed to be a scrape and salvage job. Clear the pottery, document the foundations, and move on. But on the first day, the soil itself began to behave strangely. Workers reported the ground was unnaturally dense, compressed not by geological pressure, but by intent. As they dug, the blistering desert heat seemed to die at the trench's edge, replaced by a draft of cold air carrying a distinct metallic tang. Then came the stratigraphy. In archaeology, soil layers usually tell a story of slow accumulation, flood, settlement, fire, rebuild. But Site 193 revealed a pattern of maniacal precision. Aboud's team found alternating bands, a layer of ash, a layer of clean packed clay, ash, clay, repeating for meters. Spectroscopic analysis of the ash yielded a shocking result. This wasn't the remnant of a kitchen fire or a trash pit. The samples showed evidence of flash heat exposure, temperatures requiring specialized furnaces far hotter than a house fire. Embedded in these layers were wooden support beams. But here was the anomaly. The beams were charred on the underside while the tops remained untouched. Fire burns up, not down. The implication was immediate and unsettling. The fire hadn't come from an invasion above, it had surged from below. Someone had capped this site, burned it, buried it, and then burned the earth again. This wasn't a foundation, it was a seal. If the soil was the lock, the team was about to find the instruction manual. Beneath the ash layers, they breached a subterranean chamber. It was stacked with hundreds of clay tablets from the old Babylonian period. Finding a library in such pristine condition should have been a cause for celebration. Instead, it caused confusion. Babylonian scribes were meticulous. Their archives were records of grain, law, and lineage. But as the team began cleaning these tablets, a dark pattern emerged.
Every single tablet had been vandalized, but not by time, by the scribe's own hand. Deep, frantic gouges sliced through specific names and sentences. Some tablets were cracked in half, the stylus strokes frozen mid-word, as if the writer had been interrupted or terrified. This wasn't editing, this was damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. Linguists scrambled to reconstruct the fragments. What they found were not prayers, but containment protocols. Reconstructed phrases appeared. The watchers beneath the river, the sealed chambers of the deep. Do not break the seal of the fifth king. Academic disputes erupted instantly. Traditionalists argued these were metaphorical texts, mythology about the underworld. But the dissenting camp pointed to the physical evidence. You don't build a multi-ton engineered seal of ash and clay for a metaphor. You don't chemically purify the soil for a story. The tablets also revealed gaps, perfect rectangular voids in the dust where specific records had been removed entirely. Someone had sanitized this archive before burying it. And then the lead archaeologist noticed the directional hints. The warnings weren't just text, they were coordinates. They pointed downward. In the corner of the scriptorium, a hollow thud beneath a stone slab revealed a hidden shaft. When the slab was lifted, the team was hit with a pressurized release of gas, ammonia, sulfur, and that same heavy metallic scent. It was the breath of a tomb sealed for 4,000 years. A spiral staircase, cut with laser-like precision into the bedrock, wound down into the dark. No inscriptions, no dedications to the gods, just a cold, functional descent. At the bottom lay an antechamber frozen in panic. Tools were scattered across the floor. Ink bowls had spilled and dried into black flakes. It looked less like a workspace and more like a crime scene where the perpetrators had fled in terror. But beyond a collapsed wall lay the true horror. The bone chamber. The floor was lined with thousands of human bone fragments. But this was not a mass grave. It was a mosaic. Forensics confirmed that these bodies had been processed post-mortem, fingers separated, joints severed. It mimicked a forbidden Mesopotamian ritual known as the disarming of the soul, a practice designed to physically dismantle a body so the spirit could never rise again. These weren't people. They were components of a barrier. Between the bone clusters sat stone basins filled with a dark, iridescent liquid. Even after millennia, it hadn't evaporated. Field tests identified lethal concentrations of mercury, arsenic, and lead, a toxic cocktail that no natural geological process could produce. This was a chemical containment zone. As the team moved deeper, their instruments picked up a low-frequency vibration, a tremor in the stone that wasn't tectonic. It was rhythmic. They reached the final barrier, a single slab of diorite, 2 meters thick, seamless and smooth. Carved into its face were the same symbols found on the defaced tablets. The translation was no longer ambiguous. Silence the watchers. Do not wake what was bound beneath the stone. The team used diamond-tipped saws to breach the seal. When the air cleared and the lights pierced the gloom, the silence of the crew was absolute. The main vault was a gallery of nightmares. Lining the walls were alcoves containing skeletons standing upright. Their jaws were wired shut with corroded bronze. Their spines were twisted and fused with a resin that modern science is only just beginning to analyze. But most chilling were the cages, small, intricate lattices constructed from human femurs and ribs. Inside them, smaller remains. This was not a tomb for the honored dead. It was a prison for the accursed. In the center of the room lay a deep circular shaft, a well of darkness filled with that same mercury-arsenic fluid, pulsing gently, as if something massive was moving miles below the surface. Hypotheses began to fracture the team. Was this a quarantine site for an ancient plague? The heavy metals might suggest a crude attempt at sterilization. Was it a prison for political dissidents, executed and ritually bound to prevent their ghosts from haunting the king? Or was it, as the tablets insisted, a containment facility for something non-human? The text referred to the Watchers, entities that moved beneath the water and the earth. In the context of the old Babylonian Empire, a time of superstition and sorcery, the line between myth and reality was non-existent. The vault suggests that the Babylonians weren't just afraid of gods in the sky. They were terrified of what they had found in the ground. To understand Site 193, we have to look at the gaps in history. The Old Babylonian period followed the Great Sumerian collapse. It was a time of chaos, rebuilding, and shifting alliances. We know Hammurabi's laws.
We know his justice, but we often ignore the sections of his code dealing with sorcery, forbidden rites, and the binding of dangerous forces. Archaeology is built on what survived, but Site 193 proves that Babylon spent immense resources, manpower, rare chemicals, architectural genius on things they wanted destroyed. The disarming rituals, the chemical seals, the censoring of records. This was a state-sponsored effort to erase a specific chapter of history. The excavation was halted shortly after the vault was breached. Official reports were redacted. The site was backfilled with concrete, supposedly for structural stability. We like to think of the ancient world as primitive. We've used their demons as metaphors for drought or disease. But standing at the edge of that mercury-filled pit, feeling the rhythmic vibration of the earth, the researchers felt something primal. The Babylonians built a cage. They locked the door, broke the key, and burned the map. For 4,000 years, the seal held. We are the ones who broke it. And the question remains, if the vault was a prison, did we just let the prisoner out? Thanks for watching.